Yeah, Navarre Raiders, stand up. Get on your feet, mad child, baby. You know, who wanna rumble with the Raiders? Let's go, yeah, let's go. Navarre Raiders, get up, let's go. You don't wanna rumble with the Raiders. You don't wanna rumble with the Raiders. Yes, you wanna rumble with the Raiders. Come on, you don't wanna rumble with the Raiders. You don't wanna rumble with the Raiders. Yes, you wanna rumble with the Raiders. Come on. Hey, yo, it's lights out. Whenever they turn the lights on, enough with the talking, baby boy, the fight's on. You wanna rumble with the Raiders? Listen, it's nothing, baby, we running through you haters. And you can hate us, cause we keep chips on our shoulder. You know why we the best, but now we gotta show you. Listen, better watch how you approach us. Y'all bugs to us and we'll stump you cockroaches. Simple and plain, quit is what you should really do. Put your game face on, it's about to get physical. This here's a game of strength, patience, determination. And you can never win if you lacking the motivation. And now you heard it from the source. Losing is not an option, you can hear it in our voice. We only play this game to win, and we gon' put it on the line every time and every chance we get. Cause we may never get this chance again. So when you rumble with the Raiders, understand you on the field with men. Why play if you ain't playing to win? You just wasting the greatest time. Listen, shall I say it again? Yeah, you don't wanna rumble with the Raiders. You don't wanna rumble with the Raiders.
Well, welcome to Week 4 edition of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. I'm here with Bob Grant.
Hey,
Evening,
Bill.
Bob.
How are you?
Glad to have you back.
Good to be back.
And we're here for Week 4. Fortunately, we don't have a win to talk about, but we'll go into that game a little bit. And we're going to go on, and then we're going to talk a little bit about last week's game against Lincoln. Lost 35-20. Very good Lincoln team. Wide receiver is with a commitment to Clemson, and he kind of torched us and showed us why he's a commitment to Clemson.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the highlights, and it just kind of blew past the secondary. And when you have speed like that, I'm sure he's probably on the track definitely on the track team. I mean, speed kills.
6'4", over 200 pounds. He's a solid young man with speed, and he went for 146 yards on the Raiders secondary last week, and even went into Wildcat and scored one from the Wildcat position as well. But we'll get into that game a little bit more. We're going to talk about our Super 7 power rankings, large and small schools this week again. We got a couple of great performances last week, one by Navarre Raider Grady Kelly. We'll talk about that when we talk about our stars of the week. And then we're going to finish up with our Where Are They Now? And but before that, we're going to have to get to our predictions, where I edged Bob out by one game, high school and college.
You can guess what game it was.
And you know the college game that Bob took Florida State and I took Virginia.
Almost.
So
2 yards.
That was close.
6 feet.
And that was kind of a
72 inches.
mismanaged game there at the end of the game. Yeah. But we won't bring that up right now. Then we're going to go on to where they are now, former Navarre players. We had some that had pretty good weeks again last week. We'll talk about that, and then we'll finish up with the Gulf South Conference, as we had our first Gulf South Conference game last week. Same old story for Shorter, unfortunately. They went to the half with UWF at 14-14, but ended up losing 42-14.
Oof.
But so they are improving. It'll be interesting with their game coming up, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Coach Walls drops. It seems like it's been a long time since Coach Walls has dropped a September game.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I can't remember a regular season game maybe, losing. But, we're in a new district, and we've got pretty stiff competition, to say the least. And, good teams rise to the occasion, and that's what Navarre's going to have to do. Obviously, it provides the losses early in the season. You head into another away game heading in 3-1, 0-1 in the district, and Navarre's got a lot riding on the game, obviously.
Luckily, tomorrow night is not a district game, as
good.
they'll be heading off our Friday night will be a district game as they head off to Pine Forest. And we'll bring that to you on IrishBillSports.com on Friday night. I believe kickoff is, it's 7:30 on Friday night. I'll double check that. But that should be a great game. Great team out of Pine Forest this year. 1-2 record on the season, but both their losses were to Escambia, the number 3 team in Class 6A, and to Columbia, the number 1 team in Class 6A. Ooh. So they've faced the talent. Went scoreless in the 2 quarters against Washington, a game that ended up getting canceled. What a Washington team. We'll talk about them in a little bit. So let's get into last week's game, Thursday night game, as I traveled over to, you know what, I'm starting to think, is it me or is it Navarre going to Leon County or Wakulla down there in Crawfordville? They're 0-3 when they head down I-10 in that direction. Now, you go a little bit further to St. Augustine. We do have a victory over in St. Augustine, but in the Leon County area, Navarre has yet to register a win.
Well, maybe we'll break that later in the season.
We got the October 18th game, as we'll travel over there to face Leon on a Friday night game at Gene Cox Stadium. So hopefully we can get off to Schneid on that one.
Yep.
Well, the Raiders got on the board first. They converted a big 3rd and 16 on their opening drive. Went down and scored as Courtney found Xavier Thomas with his first touchdown reception on the season from 38 yards out. Penton would add the extra point, and the Raiders were up 7-0. Well, they give the ball right back, and Lincoln doesn't waste much time. In fact, they converted their own 3rd down, 3rd and 9, as they kind of lost coverage, and they had a wide receiver wide open on the far sideline, and nobody within striking range, and he walked in from 56 yards out. That was one of my favorite names to broadcast now, this receiver for Lincoln. It was Chris Beard to Marco Scarica. And Monroe with the kick, and we were tied at 7 after 1. We head to the second quarter. The Raiders get back on the board, a 2-yard run on 4th down by Courtney. Penton's kick was good, and the Raiders had a 14-7 lead. Lincoln, after a couple of punts, would move down to the Raiders' 27-yard line, and Chris Beard would hit Sage Ennis, the Clemson commit, from 27 yards out. Monroe with the kick, and we're all tied up at 14. Right before the half, as they bring in their backup quarterback, sophomore Perry Fisher, and he hits Ennis again, this time as Ennis creeped behind the secondary for 64 yards out, and a 21-14 Lincoln lead at the half. They come back in the third quarter, which the Raiders had the ball for 4 plays in the whole third quarter, and Lincoln pretty much controlled the ball, and they scored on a 22-yard pass from Beard to Dominic Larry. Yes, Larry is his last name. I figured it would be Larry Dominic or something like that, but no, it's Dominic Larry. And Monroe with the kick, and Lincoln stretched their lead out to 14 after 3 quarters. They would get back on the board at the 11 mark of the fourth quarter. This time a 4-yard keeper by Ennis. Monroe's kick was good, 35-14. The Raiders would get on the board with 2:07 on a 6-yard run by Antonio. Kick was no good, and there was your final 35-20.
Yep, and, Navarre at the end, listening to the game, they didn't give up and fought and scratched, and they're going to have to get better in the second half. It seems like that third quarter might have been the doom of Navarre in the game, so to speak, or foreshadowing of the final. But anyway, you take a tough road loss, learn from it, and go forward. That's all you can do.
Most definitely. Well, our Ian Lockwood player of the game and defensive player of the game was well-deserved. One junior defensive lineman, Grady Kelly, finished the night officially with 7 sacks on a tackle for loss to go with his 3 solo tackles. So 11 tackles on the night, 7 sacks. The record in the state of Florida is 9 by a gentleman by the name of Jarrett Johnson. He played over at Chiefland. He ended up playing in the NFL for 12 years. So if this young man can follow in his footsteps, he's going to have a pretty successful career.
It sounds like no matter what scheme that Lincoln was throwing at him, Grady just had an answer for it. And had quite a night, kept him in the game, kind of put the defense on his shoulders, so to speak, and did certainly did his part.
Yeah, he had 2 sacks in the second quarter, and I believe he had 4 or 5 in the third quarter alone. And there was one possession where Lincoln had gotten down to Navarre's 29-yard line at 1st and 10 at the Raiders' 29. And on 3 consecutive plays, Grady made it his mission to find a QB, and he did. And on the third one, the quarterback was so flustered, and when he got up, he threw the ball down and got a 15-yard penalty. So Lincoln had a 4th and 61. I thought the Bears' 1st and 40 against the Packers on Thursday night was bad, but I've never seen 4th and 61.
No, I can't say that I have either.
The only game that I could think come close of, there was a college game of a few years ago. I think it was Louisiana Tech and an SEC team, and they had gotten all the way back inside their own 10-yard line, and it was I don't think it was 61 yards, but that was unreal. Well, the Raiders kept on fighting. A nice night from Courtney. He did have a couple of picks, but he was 13 of 21 for 228 yards. His best yardage game of the season. His favorite target was Tyler England once again. 3 beautiful receptions by Tyler for 111 yards. Xavier Thomas with a nice night with 4 receptions for 71 yards and a score. The running game the last 2 weeks for Navarre has just been kind of non-existent. Only
And that's very unusual from a Navarre team.
You know what? I've been thinking back over the last couple of weeks, Bob, and I just cannot remember a time that we didn't rush for at least 100 yards in a game. In the last 2 weeks, they've both been under 50 yards, and Navarre's got to get back to pounding that ball behind those big bubbas, and it's going to be tough on Friday night against Pine Forest, but they got to get back to running the ball.
Right. Pine Forest has a lot of team speed, as usual. And, the run sets up the pass, so to speak. And Marlon's been forcing some balls. So got to go forward, as you said.
Jaden Antonio was leading ball carry with 12 carries for 35 yards and a score. We pretty much held Lincoln's rushing game down as they basically threw the ball at will in the second half against us. But to go back to Grady Kelly, those 7 sacks added to the 4 that he had in the first 3 games gives him 11 sacks on the season in 4 games, which is tops in the state of Florida, and second. He's tied for second nationally after 4 games with 11 sacks.
Some Division I schools got to start taking a look at him. And
only a junior.
Yeah.
We get to broadcast his games for the next year and a half.
God.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm so happy that high school kids can't leave early.
Oh, I know. Me too. Basketball they're doing it, but not in football.
Yeah.
But watching those guys. The Raider team very young. Replaced 9 guys on defense, 9 starters, and they're still trying to find their way a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. But hopefully they'll come around, and there's really no lull in their schedule as they've had Pine Forest this week, and then back home against Niceville next Friday night, and who's playing outstanding here early on under their new head coach over there, Grant Thompson. He's doing a great job there. Washington's head coach, another Niceville assistant coach, is over at Washington. He's 3-0 on the season. Tommy Joe Whidden doing a great job over. I love to see Washington back because they have really not been back since basically the Derek Brooks and the Derek Brooks there.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's the John Hicks coaching tree, having 2 assistants. And what a legacy Coach Hicks has left in that area, did a great job all those years in the playoffs. So, but Navarre has a non-district game, and then they go back into the fire with Niceville.
5 straight district games to end the season. They'll have Childs at home, and they'll be at Leon, and then they have Tate sandwiched in there on October 4th, and then they finish up against Crestview at home. So after this week, it's district throughout the rest of the week. And special teams, another bright spot here. Our special teams player of the game was Gabe Davis. He had 5 kickoff returns for 110 yards. big 68-yarder in the second half.
Saw that. Yeah.
He had 2 punt returns where he averaged 20 yards per punt return. So a good night. He was our special teams player of the game, and also our offensive player of the game was Say Janis from Lincoln. Hard not to give a guy that had 146 yards on 4 receptions our offensive player of the game. He had 3 touchdowns on the night as well. Our defensive stats, we've already talked about Grady Kelly. Devin Wright with another nice game. 3 solos, 4 assists, a tackle for loss and a sack. Connor Eastwood had 3 solos, 2 tackles for loss and a half a sack. Xavier Thomas with 4 solos, 2 assists. Jeffrey Maddox back in there. A very gutsy performance by Jeffrey last week as he went out in the second quarter with a hurt ankle. Came back in the second half. He finished with 7 assists on the night. I like this little spark plug, Bailey Houston. Made the big play at Milton the week before,
right, yeah, sure
as
did.
he ran the player back from behind. You got Paul Schultz had another solid game, 4 solo tackles, 5 quarterback hurries for Schultz, 8 for Grady Kelly, and you also had another individual here that had multiple. We had to end up having 17 quarterback hurries on the night. The other 4 belonged to Sebastian Melendez, the sophomore linebacker.
Yeah, as you said, it seemed like we kind of hemmed in their running game. Lincoln in the past has been very balanced, and if you become one-dimensional, you force a team to beat you, and at times they did.
The Raiders went 6 of 12 on third down, very respectable. They didn't actually they did succeed because I know they went for the 4th down touchdown, so that was one. So 12 first downs, but one thing that the Raiders have failed to do over the last few games is cause the turnover. No
Right.
turnovers in the last 2 games. Well, other than the Milton, the big one at the end of the game, but they have turned the ball over 5 times in the last 2 games, so that's a -4. And when you go minus in the turnover ratio, things start to not go your way a little bit.
Yeah, and the old saying, defense travels, along with maybe a running game, and our defense seemed to probably do as best as they could, considering the circumstances. And, when you have 3rd and 64, you're doing something right.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, but anyway, a tough loss at Gene Cox Stadium. The field looked great.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was warm when we started, but as the sun went down, it was a lot nicer.
Yeah, instead of mowing the grass, you vacuum the field, I guess.
I don't know how they do that, but the stands haven't improved much.
Okay.
But the field and a new clock, it was
yeah.
nice. It was very. The players seemed to enjoy playing on the field. Everybody seemed to come off with not many injuries, or if they were, they're very minor. Sometimes you have a tendency with playing on the turf fields to have a few more injuries.
Yep, different shoes. You have to, get accustomed to that. And we don't have too many opportunities in the area. Fort Walton's got a
About the only one.
I call it AstroTurf.
I still call it AstroTurf too.
It's I've coached soccer on it, and boy, I tell you, I told our girls on the soccer team, if you don't trap the ball, it's going to roll forever. But getting back to your comment about injuries, that could happen. It's harder surface, but as you said, pretty happy that we didn't come out with any serious injuries.
Well, on the season, Marlon Courtney, 46 of 71, 65%, very respectable. 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Jaden Antonio, the leading ground carrier with 47 carries for 230 yards and 3 scores. Tyler England having another nice season, 21 receptions through 4 games, 372 yards. Both England and Courtney are leading the area, the Santa Rosa and Escambia areas in their respective categories. The Raiders, one thing is I'm looking towards their second half scoring. That was their first touchdown in the fourth quarter in the first 4 games on Thursday night.
Yeah.
They've been outscoring in the second half 27-20, outscoring their opponents in the first half by a considerable margin. But they're going to have to get balanced and take their first half play into the second half as the season goes on, especially as we get into district play.
And the question that I always ask you, what would you think Jay Walls is going to want to improve on for the Pine Forest game? Is it penalties, turnover? Certainly, we just can't afford to. I mean, especially when you play a team like Lincoln. You said they only had 4 plays. Navarre did in the third quarter. You've got to improve on that and make the most of what you get.
Well, I agree. One thing I always liked about Coach Walls, not that there's been a whole lot of losses, but win or lose, at the end of the game, you can never tell that they won or lost. He is always even-keeled, and I love his interviews after the games. Brian Lester and Jay Phillips do a great job interviewing him after the games. He's very respectful of his opponents, never says a bad word about his opponents. Love that's about Coach Walls, and then there was another interview after with Grady Kelly. What a night the young man had, and they have to be working with these guys because when they get on the camera, these young men are presenting themselves in their school very well.
That's important. That's part of what you want to teach, and football does that with life skills, and being able to represent, not hate. And I agree with what you said about Coach Walls. Every interview I've listened to, and he's always has something positive to say about the other team, and doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. You enjoy the win. You worry about the loss, but then after the game film is watched, you've got another game to prepare for.
Most definitely. On the season for the defense, Grady Kelly leading the way with those 31 solo tackles, six assists, 11 sacks on the season, 6 tackles for loss, and through 4 games has 18 quarterback hurries. He's had 2 games of 7 or more. Devin Wright, the sophomore, doing a great job over these last 2 weeks. On the season, he has 20 solo tackles, 19 assists. He has 1 sack and 3 tackles for loss. 1 quarterback hurry, but also getting it done on the quarterback hurries. A senior that didn't get much playing time. I had a conversation with his mom last year, Erica Schultz, and she had to explain to him that, you know what, you're biding your time. You're a junior. There's seniors ahead of you, and what a great defensive line we've had the last couple of years.
Right.
But now that Paul is getting his chance,
right,
he is stepping forward.
Taking the most of the advantage of the playing time.
14 quarterback hurries for Paul through 4 games. Very solid. Sebastian Melendez, the sophomore, stepping in. He has 14 what they call extra bones, which to me is extra effort. You give that extra, that's heart. You give your all to each play. And Sebastian, the sophomore, is leading the team with 14 extra bones.
Well, Wright and Schultz and the other young man, the junior.
The Grady Kelly, and then the senior Jeffrey Maddox doing a great job as well.
But, when teams, when they see all the flashy stats, and certainly well-deserved from Grady, they're double-teaming him. They're either putting 2 linemen on him, and he's still managing to do well. That's going to free up some of the other defensive linemen.
Most definitely. We've been getting great effort out of, like I said, with Paul Schultz, also coming in there, Jordan Moon, Lucas Marvel coming in and helping out as well. I mean, they have just plus they free up those linebackers, Jeffrey Maddox and then Devin Wright, what he's doing on the offensive line as well. Look, completely different player than his older brother Dante. We'll talk about Dante when it's Dante's time here in a few segments. But a great job, a very young defense starting to come into their own, and I look forward to these last remaining 6 games. Well, we're going to head out for commercial break. This is Irish Bill with Bob Grant. We're at Culver's in Navarre for Irish Bill's Twist on Sports Week 4, and we'll be right back after this break.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Navarre Raider Sports is brought to you by Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Residential Real Estate, your local real estate connection. With Ursula, you got a positive, helpful partner for buying or selling a home. Ursula can help with all of your real estate needs. Whether in the Florida Panhandle or around the world, her 16 years experience in real estate will work for you with innovative marketing strategies. Thinking about selling your home? Call Ursula for a free marketing analysis to see if you qualify for one of the incentive programs. Call or text 850-642-5711. Email ursula.householder@floridamoves.com or go to householderhomes.com. Go Raiders! Your fans are all behind you at the field or while you're watching at home.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Well, they're seeing to it that they are properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can hear all the exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishVilleSports.com.
Have you always wanted to just escape? How about a perfect cruise getaway? Or maybe an adventure to Europe or Hawaii? How about an all-inclusive resort? Then you need to call Cruise Planners Qualified Vacation Planner Judy Bruce today. She is a full-service agent ready to plan your escape. Enjoy dinner at sea, live entertainment, and fun activities. Visit exotic destinations, Alaska, Europe, Belize, all in the comfort of a cruise or land package. Cruise Planners is your land and cruise experts. Judy Bruce will plan your dream vacation. Cruise Planners offers great prices with all the extras. Ask about the military or senior discounts. Call Judy Bruce at 828-837-8399. Find her on Facebook at Judy Bruce Cruise Planners or online at DandyLionsJourneyTravel.com. Email judy.bruce@cruiseplanners.com.
Not up on the roof, but we are at Culver's in downtown Navarre.
Absolutely.
About a block and a bridge from beautiful Navarre Beach, Florida. It's another warm day here in the Panhandle of Florida with football just around the corner. JV and freshmen tomorrow night at home against Pine Forest. If you've got nothing else to do, head on out to Bennett C. Russell Stadium. Catch a little bit of our JV and freshman teams. The JV team is 2-1. The freshmen are 3-0. And
future Raiders, future varsity players.
And I'm sure they're ready to play after being off last week. And they're ready to get back to action tomorrow night at home against Pine Forest. So, and then the Raiders on the road Friday night. And it's time to let's get over to our class rankings here. This is FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. Joshua Wilson does a great job each and every week on high school football in Florida and also with flag football in the spring with the young ladies. And let's go Class 8A. We're going to go from 1 to 10. South Dade, Seminole, Apopka, Bartram Trail, Vero Beach, Western, Miami Palmetto, Columbus, Osceola, and Mandarin. In 7A, Lakeland stays the top spot, actually the number one team overall in the state of Florida. St. Thomas Aquinas right behind him in 2, Edgewater 3, Armwood always in there at 4, Venice at 5, Atlantic Del Rey at 6, Wekiva at 7, Tampa Bay Tech at 8, Plantation at 9, Palm Beach Lakes at 10, as the Raiders fall down to number 13 after holding the 7th spot for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, and we need to keep an eye on 8A, because if Navarro High School continues on growing like it is, and I don't think reclassifications may not be for another year or so, but who knows? We may be up in 8A, and boy, you talk about traveling. Holy mackerel!
Well, I'll look at it this way: we're going to see a lot of traveling, because if Navarre doesn't come back and win the district, they will be traveling a lot in 6A and in 7A. Because most of the other teams in 7A are in Central and Eastern state of Florida, and in Region 1 we'll be traveling quite often if we're not a top seed in our district. But let's move on down to, we got to finish out, because Lincoln comes in at number 11, Niceville at 12, so the Panhandle well represented, just outside the top 10. In Class 6A, Columbia, who Pine Forest played last week, 21-13. Columbia won that one.
Watch some of that game, yeah.
Miami Central at 2. Escambia, the Gators, off to a great season. They're at 3-0. They're at number 3. Gaither 4. Naples 5. Palmetto 6. Dillard 7. Mainland 8. Lake Gibson, a team that the Raiders have faced in the past, at number 9. Charlotte at 10. And no other area teams in Class 6A. Let's move over to 5A. Where Miami Northwestern as a 1, American Heritage Plantation 2, Rockledge, who gave Lincoln their only loss on the season. They're number 3 now. Lake Wales, Jones, North Marion, Wakulla, Strong War Eagle team, home of one Felipe Franks. Unfortunately, he will not be suiting up for the Gators the rest of this season. Right. That's a horrible injury.
Yeah.
I saw the highlights after the game. That's his alma mater there, Wakulla. Dunellen, Vanguard Jesuit, no other local. Well, Pine Forest comes in at the number 14 spot with a 1-2 record. Class 4A, Booker T. Washington, Cardinal Gibbons, Miami Carroll City. What's funny, folks, is I was talking about this. 6A, you got Miami Central, number 2, Northwestern, number 1 in 5A, and Miami Carroll City, number 3 in 4A. They were all in Class 6A last year in the same district. Is that a tough district or what?
Yeah.
But Cocoa comes in at number 4, Gulliver Prep at 5, NSU University School at 6, Lakewood 7, American Heritage Del Rey, a team that Navarre scored their most points ever in a game against a few years back. They're coming at number 8, Bowles at 9, South Sumter at 10. And no other. Mariana comes in at number 15 at 3-1. Down to 3A, Chaminade Madonna at 1. Florida High, a good year for Florida High and the Seminoles of Florida High. Southern Tallahassee, Berkeley Prep, Benjamin, Pensacola Catholic off to a great start as they faced Brett Favre's nephew last week as he plays for Stanislaus, Mississippi.
Wow. Max
Favre was the starting quarterback for the I know I'm going to mess up their nickname. It's a great nickname. And, in fact, I'll get it to you as once we go to the next break. It's one of the best nicknames you'll ever hear. And we talked about that in our first show about coming up with nicknames.
We did.
And this one is good. We'll get to that one. Trinity Christian at 6, Bishop Verot at 7, Trinity Catholic 8, Clearwater comes in at 9, Holy Trinity at 10. In 2A, Victory Christian, Champagnat Catholic, University Christian, North Florida Christian out of Tallahassee, Cambridge Christian, Foundation Academy, First Baptist out of Naples, Zephyr Hills Christian, Admiral Farragut, and number 10 Oak Hall out of Gainesville. And McClay comes in, another Tallahassee team, at number 11. And Osceola Christian is kind of in the Tallahassee area as well.
Sure is.
They come in at number 14. Well, here's where a lot of the Panhandle teams are going to be residing. Madison County at number 1 in Class 1A, followed by Baker, Bluntstown, Vernon. Well, I got to see last Friday night. Great environment over there at Vernon. There was a rivalry game between them and Chipley. They've been playing each other for 58 straight years since 1961. And they play each other every year. this year went to Vernon rather handily. Followed by number 5 Lafayette, 6 Hawthorne, 7 Sneeds, 8 Pahokee. A great running back out there at Sneeds, and that's just a little preview of who might be our star of the week, maybe for the second time this year. And at number 8 Pahokee, Dixie County at 9, Newberry at 10, Port St. Joe at 11, Freeport at 13, Bozeman at 14, Northview at 15. So Panhandle well represented in the classes of FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com.
Look out for Freeport. They're on a roll.
They are on a roll there. And we're going to get to our small schools here in just a second before we get to our large. Because now it's that time. It's Irish Bills Super 7 Panhandle Pro Rankings after Week 4. Large schools, we have a shake and a bake and a change of names at the top as Niceville jumps from 3 up to 1 as they handled Crestview. And in Crestview last week, they end a 4-game skid against the Bulldogs, 24-13. Niceville moves to the top spot at number 1 at 4-0. Escambia stays at number 2 as they had an open week. Navarre drops from 1 down to 3 with their loss to Lincoln. Washington moves up 1 to number 4 as they remain unbeaten after beating Gulf Breeze 42-29. Pine Forest right there at 5 with the loss to number 1 Columbia. Milton moves back in at number 6 as they beat Fort Walton Beach 21-7. And Crestview just holding on a little bit in my Power 7 at number 7 as they'll try to get back to their winning ways this week, but they lost to Niceville. And now for our small schools, you were just talking about Freeport. Well, they come in at number 2 after they beat Walton last week 13-7. They're right behind Catholic 4-0 as they beat St. Stanislaus out of Mississippi 34-26. Baker moves up to number 3. Bluntstown, what a program they have over there. Bo Johnson doing a heck of a job with only 22 players on the roster as they beat Liberty County last week 57-0. Graceville strong with the strong running back and Xavier Sori. Folks, this guy is 6'3", 220 pounds running back in Class 1A football.
You don't think some of the bigger schools with the rules now that on transfer may have been calling the family and trying to get him to go to a bigger school, but he's making a name for himself down in A-ball.
In Graceville. I'm not really sure where Graceville is at. I've never been to that area. If it's in between Vernon and Tallahassee somewhere.
Yeah, Panama City.
But there may not be any school really close by for him to go to other than Graceville.
True.
But they beat Holmes County 32-0. Vernon, the game that I was at last Friday night, was 46-8. Vernon over Chipley. And Northview lost a tough one to Baker 14-12. And our recipient of our offensive player of the game, he was our player of the game, star of the week earlier in the season, Calvin Stringer. 25 carries, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, already with 875 yards rushing after 4 games on the season.
Almost 10 yards a carry in that game.
Yeah, and our defensive player, you're saying, folks, when are we, Bill, when are we ever going to see a Navarre player win star of the week? Well,
guess what?
Your answer is today.
Today.
Defensive player that goes to Navarre's Grady Kelly with 11 solo tackles, 7 sacks, a tackle for loss, and 8 quarterback hurries. For that, he deserves our star of the week on the defensive side of the ball. So congratulations goes out to him and running back Calvin Stringer from Sneeds. They are Irish Bills stars of the week.
And Grady may be the defensive player of in the state.
If he keeps going the way that he is right now. And the season record for Navarre is 12 sacks. That was by Andrew Garcia back in 2010. That team that year had multiple players with pretty close to 10 sacks. And they ended up having over 50 sacks on the season, that 2010 team. But the record is 12, and through 4 games, Grady already has 11. And he's working on the season sacks as well as the career sacks, 20.5 by Josh Carter. And I'm sure that before this season is done or the early next season, he'll have that snapped.
And he'll be the first to tell you he'd rather take wins versus personal statistics and personal glory. But hats off. I mean, whatever whatever adjustments they tried to make in the second half, it didn't work. So it's be interesting how Pine Forest schemes it.
It's funny how you bring that up, Bob. I was talking with Marlon Courtney's dad last night a little bit, and he knows that he's working hard, and they're all working hard, and he knows that he's got to work on cutting down. But he goes, in the end, Marlon, he goes, I don't care what my stats are. If we're winning, I could care less what my stats are.
Wow.
And that's what most of the outlook is for these Raider boys, these Raiders young men, is they don't care what their personal stats are. This team has to play as a team because they're not like the teams over these last 5 or 6 years where had big star names coming at you. This team is a team. Not saying that these other teams weren't teams. This team has to play like a team.
Playing for the name on the front of the jersey rather than the name on the back of the jersey.
I love that. I love that saying. That's one of my favorite sayings. Let's go over some other noteworthy performances. We'll go over the leader for both for all these categories. Leading the way, Rylan McCurdy had another solid game last week, 13 of 23, 235 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wide receiver Quanteris Gaines, 3 receptions, 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. Running backs, North Bay Haven Cameron Grant over the 200-yard mark at 204, 25 carries last week and 3 TDs. And another great effort by Joe Brunson for Baker, 36 carries. That's a load, 36 carries in one ball game, 174 yards. Leading the defense, we go up the road to Pace. Caleb Ward with 18 tackles last Friday night, and an 8-6 loss to Mosley. It was 3-2 at halftime.
They hit a two-run homer or something.
A sack and a safety, and it was 3-2 at the half. Mosley came out and pulled the game out. 2 field goals for Blake Bullock for Pace, but an 8-6 win for Mosley. But Caleb Ward, 18 tackles, 15 solo, 3 assists, 3.5 tackles for loss, and a sack. He led the way. Navarre's special teams player, Gabe Davis, 150 return yards last Thursday night, 110 on kickoffs, 40 on the punting returns. And our leading kicker, he plays multiple positions. Kicking is only one of his jobs. And I love the first name, Pola, P-O-L-A, McLeod. 7 for 7 on extra points.
From Bluntstown.
And Coach Bo Johnson.
Yep.
So that goes over the Irish Bills Star of the Week. And the large schools are New Order, Niceville, Escambia, Navarre, Washington, Pine Forest, Milton, and Crestview. Small schools, Catholic, Freeport, Baker, Bluntstown, Graceville, Vernon, and Northview. Now that's going to start to change as these teams will start playing each other here in the very near future, and the cream will slowly start to rise to the top.
Exactly.
So let's move over our district standings. Really the only one, the district standings where they played multiple games, is in District 7, District 1, Class 7A. Lincoln 2-0. Niceville and Leon sitting at 1-0 in district play. Childs yet to play their first district game. Navarre and Crestview both 0-1, and Tate at 0-2. In Class 6A, District 1, Washington, Milton, and Mosley all with 1-0 records in district, as the Fort Walton Gulf Breeze and Pace went down last week. Choctaw of West Florida, 1-0 in District 1 of 5A, and Arnold and Pensacola at 0-1 there. As they go to 4A, they really don't look at the districts as far as they set up. It's more as they get ready for the end of the season and their playoff points as they get ready. So they really don't look at you don't have to play everybody in Class 4A and below.
Correct.
But what a job this year. We haven't said enough about the Stingrays this year. Off to a 3-1 start, their best start ever in school history. I'm talking about the Lighthouse Catholic Academy.
Not Catholic. Lighthouse
Private
Christian
Academy.
Yeah.
They're playing over in I believe in Pensacola right now, they're building a field, the stadium over in the Gulf Breeze area to play. I don't know when it will be ready. Hopefully by next season, possibly. But what a great job they're doing over there. 3-1 start, the best start in Stingray history. And now it's time we're going to start picking games. But first, remember what I told you last week? to find out who won, you're going to have to tune back in this week. Well, not to lift my hat or anything, but I edged Bob out by one game. I went 19-6. Bob, respectable, 18-7. His first week of picking games. I know you're going to start getting used to these teams as we talk about them a little bit more. I'm very familiar with a lot of these teams and these programs, but the only big difference we really had is, as I'm looking here, he took Taylor County on Thursday night. I took Bay. Taylor County won 35-0 in that game.
Yeah.
And Bay really struggling this year. And the only other game that we really missed separately was the Bozeman and Cottondale game, and where I took Bozeman, you took the Cottondale team, and the Hornets of Cottondale.
The Hornets,
and,
not the Bunny Rabbits.
Not the Bunny Rabbits. And but mostly everything I just edged you by one game.
Yep.
And that was 18-7. Now it's time. We're gonna get out the sheet of integrity.
Is that like the napkin?
Like sort of like the napkin. This is I got from Mike Golick. Every time he gets to March Madness, he always fills out about 10 to 15 sheets, but he always says one of them's the sheet of integrity.
The sheet of integrity.
So
a Notre Dame alum.
A Notre Dame alum. His son also on that morning program as well. I'm listening to Robbie in the morning. Robbie and them doing a great job with Colin there in the morning and Hemo, Scott Heeman, and they've even had Nolcor step in and help out.
Pinch hit.
I love listening to Nolcor. That guy he's equivalent of smoothness. I tell you, he doesn't get rattled. Very confident young man. Florida State grad.
Yeah, ultra triathlete, I think.
Ultra triathlon. He loves to put his body through stupid things that a lot of people wouldn't do.
He works out before he goes and pinch hit last week on the morning show. It's like he gets up at 3 a.m. and does these crazy workouts.
And I appreciate him stepping in while I've been gone the last couple of weekends on Saturday morning during the Southern Gentleman Sports Show with the Georgia Dog. And, I leave for 2 weeks, and they already got Georgia Dog giving marital advice on the air. Why would you give marital advice to someone that's been married 5 times? What he says is it's because I can tell him what not to do. Well, I can respect that.
Okay,
but I'll leave for 2 weeks, and they got the dog giving him marital advice. Then you have Pac-12 Dave, he's always out there loose on the Palouse. And then
he showed us last week. When we get to the college scores.
And believe me, on the road, he let me know about it last week when Houston lost to Washington. The Cougs. The Cougs won and the Cougs lost. But, he let me have it after that one. He let us all have it, all of us that picked Houston last week. But let's get to – we got one Thursday night game this week. Bay back at it on Thursday night. And this is going to be an interesting game over in South Walton tomorrow night. Bay 1-3, South Walton 1-3. Both teams have really not been playing very well. I'm going to go with the home team in this one.
Yeah, me too. I think Phil Tease's they played a pretty complete game. We didn't think they stood a chance against Port St. Joe, but Phil Tease with a big win, and he beat me in fantasy football too.
Phil's a great guy. He calls in a lot used to call in a lot on the afternoon show, and what a great job he does over there. Got a great quarterback over there, Drake Roberts.
Yep.
A couple of really good receivers, J.M. Allen. And see, I've done my homework. J.M. Allen, big time, but they just really haven't gotten into sync on the offensive side of the ball yet.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think it's a win for the Seahawks.
So we're going to go with the Seahawks at home. Next is our 3-1 Navarre at 1-2 Pine Forest. I think this is going to turn out to be one of the better games of the week.
Oh, I think so too. It could be a fourth quarter game. I think Navarre's defense is going to carry them. Perhaps we haven't gotten a lot of turnovers. Maybe some turnovers, a defensive score, and I think Navarre pulls it out.
And I never pick against my Raiders, and I'm not about to start now.
Nope.
So I'm going with Bob in that one as well. Crestview 1-3, at Tate 1-3. This is a district game for both teams. Well, if it's a district game, it's both teams. Duh.
It's been a long day, I'm sure.
It has been. It's been a long week for me already. I'm getting excited for a Friday night. And
yep.
Then we'll talk a little bit about our journey this weekend. Crestview comes back and gets on winning ways on this one. A very young Tate team.
Yeah, and they lost a lot of talent. I'm going to go with the visitors. I think Crestview, like South Walton, is going to get their second consecutive win against Tate. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Crestview will pull it out.
And before I go any further, one of my listeners, I started my show at the Twist in Navarre with Derek and Julie Prevet.
Mm-hmm.
Moved away from there after 3 years after they sold the place, but Julie continues to watch my show every Wednesday night. So I want to send out thank you, Julie, for checking in every Wednesday evening. Julie Prevet here in Navarre.
Thank you.
Her and Derek are great people and fine residents of Navarre. And our second big game of the week, Lincoln 3-1 travels west to Niceville.
That's a tough one. I'm going to pick Lincoln, going with.
I believe they have
3.
Lincoln favored by 3.
Yeah. So
but,
almost a touchdown when you can. Well, no. Yeah, Lincoln
well,
favored by 3.
We're both not going to make the Eagle faithful happy because we're both going with Lincoln.
Yeah. I just think, although, big win over Navarre could be a letdown. You're traveling. I'm going to stick with Lincoln.
And we have an interesting matchup in that game. Former assistant coach at Lincoln,
right?
Now head coach at Niceville, Grant Thompson.
He may have a little inside information.
You never know about that going into these contests. But we're going with the road team in that one with Lincoln. We have another District 1 7A matchup between Leon and Childs. They don't have to travel very far. Childs plays on their own field. Leon shares the stadium down at Gene Cox Stadium.
I'm going to go with the home team, Childs.
I am going to go with Childs as well. Great quarterback there. Green for Childs. We're going to see him in a few weeks here at Navarre.
Yep.
Outstanding young man. I believe he's a senior over there playing for Childs, the Timberwolves.
The Timberwolves.
I remember that because the girls' soccer teams always used to go over to the Timberwolf Classic in Tallahassee.
Right. Exactly.
That's the only way I remember that. And Leon is the Lions. And that's only appropriate.
Leon Lions been around a long time.
They have. And so we're both going with Childs there. Gulf Breeze 1-3 at Escambia 3-0. Escambia probably, I'm considering one of the better teams in the whole Panhandle region.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be closer than most people think, but I'll pick the Gators.
I'm going with the Gators as well, so we're matching up here. Fort Wall Beach will travel up the road to Pace as they head up 87 and up to 90 into Pace. 2-2 Vikings at the 0-3 Pace Patriots. Also a very slow start. I'm going with the Vikings on the road.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against my alma mater. I think it's going to be a very close game, probably a field goal game. I'll go with the Vikings.
And another Friday matchup of Dolphins and Wildcats. So we're going Mosley this time, 2-2 at Washington, 3-0. And I look for Washington and Coach Tommy Joe Whidden to keep the winning ways going in the Pensacola area.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to be tested by Mosley, but I'm going to go with the Wildcats in this one.
This next game should be an interesting matchup. Milton, I believe this is another district game. Choctaw dropped down to 5A, so it's not a district game. But Milton 2-1, Choctaw 2-2. Both getting great quarterback play. A couple weeks ago when we were up at Milton with Noah Wingate, they kind of transferred back between him and Tyler Buchanan, but mostly Wingate's getting it done up there. But Navarre transferred Ezra McKinney at quarterback for Choctaw. And this is going to be a tough game. But I'm going to go with Milton on the road.
I will too. I think Milton's got a lot of weapons, and Choctaw's defense still is improving.
And the biggest mismatch of the week, 4-0 Catholic heads to Pensacola 0-4, and not much to talk about here. The Crusaders.
Pensacola High, the Tigers, my wife's alma mater, played better last week, but I'm going to go with the Catholics.
They got out to 22-7 lead and ended up losing 50-22.
Yeah,
That's a tough
second half drop off there.
And this should be an interesting game coming up over in it's over in Madison County as Boot Hill is the name of their football field over at Boot Hill.
Boot Hill.
Boot Hill.
And there's a lot of bridges in Madison County, I understand.
So 4-0 Florida High taking on number 1 in Class 4 and 1A. So you have Florida High, who is, what were they standing at in 4A?
I think they're like second or third.
They're at second. So you have the number 2 team in 4A facing off with the number 1 team in 1A. Just can't go against the Cowboys.
I'm going to pick Florida High.
Bob going with Florida High.
On the road.
Florida High led by Willie Taggart Jr. Having a great season so far, better than his dad's doing. I'm sorry, I had to get that in there. So I'm going with Madison County. You're going with Florida High.
Yeah.
Next we got Gadsden County off to a 1-2 start. A very tough Wakulla program, 4-0. I'm going with the War Eagles at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Port St. Joe 2-2, going on the road to Rutherford 1-3. Port St. Joe has no problem going up in classification to play anybody. And they usually do pretty well, and I'm taking them in this one, the 1A team over the 4A team.
I think they bounced back after the loss to the Seahawks. Yeah,
that was surprising. South Walton had not been playing well all season, and then Port St. Joe is just one of those teams that they just seem to play well every week.
Yep.
But next we have Walton 2-2 traveling to Mariana. Mariana having a good season. I'm going to go with Mariana in that one.
Me too.
Rocky Bayou 0-3 at Freeport. What a season for Freeport. And running back Brandon Seipels over there in Pirates. They're the Pirates, are they not?
Freeport, no, they're the Bulldogs.
Are they? I always wondered that. Sneeds is the Pirates.
Right. Freeport and a laugher.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to even be close. Northview heading up over to Holmes County, 1-2 at 1-3, but I think Northview's going to take out their frustration on Holmes County this week.
Yeah, that was a tough loss to Baker. I mean, you talk about teams that haven't lost very many games in a regular season. I can't remember the last time Baker lost a regular season game. It has to be
32 straight.
32 straight
regular season wins.
I think Northview wins this game.
Okay, now we're going to head to Baker with Cottondale. The Hornets heading to Baker, and I think they're heading to Baker at the very wrong time. But then, is there ever a right time to go to Baker?
No, I think this is another game that's going to be over by halftime.
Chipley, here's another game that's going to be over by halftime. Chipley 0-4 heads to 3-0 Bluntstown. Bluntstown off to a 3-0 start under Bo Johnson. It's going to, like you said, this one's game's going to be over by halftime as well.
I agree.
Bozeman 3-1 at Graceville 3-0 should be it. And running back is Xavier Sori in the Graceville backfield, taking on a surprising 3-1 Bozeman team. It's tough to go against the home team in this one.
I'm going to go with Graceville.
Going with Graceville. Franklin County at Sneeds, another mismatch here. Sneeds off to a 4-0 start behind running back Calvin Stringer's 875 yards and 14 touchdowns. And Sneeds, the Pirates, this is the Pirates.
Arg with a go to 5-0.
Next we have an Escambia County, Alabama team, 1-3. Venturing into the Panhandle to take on Jay, the Royals at 1-2. I don't know much about Escambia County, so I'm going to go with the Panhandle team and Jay.
Yep, I spent some time as Y director over there. It's in the Atmore area. They are right next to one another. They're the Blue Devils, I believe they are.
Blue Devils.
The Blue Devils. I'm going to take Jay. Jay played Flomaton.
Defending state champions in the state of Alabama.
And I think Flomaton handled them pretty but Escambia County, for the first time in a long time last year, I think progressed pretty
season.
far. Yeah, progressed pretty far. But I'm gonna pick the Royals.
Next, we have Jefferson County, 1-3 as they travel to Hawthorne. Hawthorne is number 4 in Class 1A. And I'm going with Hawthorne. Don't know much about those two teams, but Jefferson County is in our area with some other teams.
I think Hawthorne's going to win it handily.
Taylor County is starting to play better, 2-2 under their new head coach, who took over 2 weeks before the season started.
Wow.
And they've won their last 2 games. They're heading to FAMU DRS school, and 1-3. And I'm going with Taylor County to continue their winning ways.
Yep, going to go with Taylor County.
And our last game, Weewa-Hitchka on the road to St. John Paul. The second, both teams come in 1-3. I'm going with the Gators on the road.
Going with Weewa.
Not even sure the nickname is St. John Paul II.
I should,
or is that
should know
is that
this.
sacrilegious that I shouldn't know that?
No.
I don't know.
They could be the Saints. I'm not sure. But anyway, I go with Weewa in that game.
And we'll get you that nickname of the Catholic opponent last week. As I don't know why it's striking and staying with me. Well, before we get to our college games, we're going to take a break. Let us get a breather here, and we'll come back with our college picks. And as always, the only way to find out who wins is to tune in next Wednesday night here at Culver's in Navarre. This is Bob Grant and Irish Bill, and we'll be back after this message and a word from our sponsors.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Navarre Raider Sports is brought to you by Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Residential Real Estate, your local real estate connection. With Ursula, you got a positive, helpful partner for buying or selling a home. Ursula can help with all of your real estate needs. Whether in the Florida Panhandle or around the world, her 16 years experience in real estate will work for you with innovative marketing strategies. Thinking about selling your home? Call Ursula for a free marketing analysis to see if you qualify for one of the incentive programs. Call or text 850-642-5711. Email ursula.householder@floridamoves.com or go to householderhomes.com. Go Raiders! Your fans are all behind you at the field or while you're watching at home.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Well, they're seeing to it that they are properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can hear all the exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports here at Culver's in Navarre. A block and a bridge from beautiful Navarre Beach. We're heading off to week 5. After this week, we're going to be halfway over for the high school football season.
Where has it all gone? Holy mackerel.
I know, and we're done with our high school picks. Whether you like them or dislike them is what we do.
A couple of tight games in high school, very competitive games, a lot of blowouts.
But now it's time to switch the knob to the other direction, and we're going to switch it to Saturday. We do have one Friday. Do we got Friday night? I don't think we have Friday. We got a couple of Friday night games involving ranked teams.
USC.
But before we get to this week's games, Irish Bill went an impressive 19-4. Bob, just one game back, 18-5. 82.6% to 78.2. Good for opening week for you. Bob, 8-5 is respectable. But now we get into where the ranked teams are going to start playing each other. And our picks are going to be a little bit more challenging, starting with this week's game.
The one difference game that sticks out, of course, is the Florida State game. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, that's the only game that we picked different last week. We both missed the Pac-12 day. I know, we're sorry. We both went with Houston last week, and Houston did cover the spread, but we don't pick games by spread.
Yeah.
But congratulations to your
20th ranked.
20th ranked Washington State. I think they moved up one slot to 19
Could have been,
this week as well. That was the only Friday night game, and then there was a lot of kind of blowouts, not too many close games. The Penn State game was close, 17-10. Temple shuts down the high-powered Maryland offense, 20-17. After they were averaging 71 points a game through their first 2 games. Not really many close games. We get down to number 24 USC. Not what they thought they were as they headed to Provo. And lost in overtime 30-27. And this was probably the biggest upset of the weekend. Some people say, Herm Edwards would say this would not be an upset. As he always says, that's why we play the game. And he went into Michigan State. They had tied it up a game-time field goal late, but unfortunately Michigan State had 12 players on the field. So they bring in the kicker after 5 yards back, and he shanks one bad to the left. Yikes. Arizona walks away with a 10-7 victory. Sound kind of like the Bears-Packers game the first week.
Yeah.
Knew this would be a tough one. Iowa over Iowa State in the Battle of Iowa, 18-17.
Could have gone either
way. That was delayed by an hour and a half by weather.
Twice.
Mm-hmm. And they ended up finishing that game. But most of the other games on the night, the only really close game we had was the Florida State-Virginia game. And Florida State was up early in that one, just couldn't finish it.
They played better, not that they could play any worse. Time management kind of got to them. James Blackman, the quarterback, made the right call. If he had spiked the ball then on the NCAA rule, if you're within so many seconds and you spike the ball, you lose time, that kind of thing. And some of the Florida State receivers admitted after the game they didn't even know what the play was. If you watch the play, the lineman didn't even move. It's one of those plays where, it really stinks if you're a Florida State fan. But, if it's successful, and if anybody on the team that I'd want the ball in the hands of, it's our running back. And he was stopped short, and so I really don't know all the specifics. Probably a good thing I wasn't somewhere watching the game, or I might be paying for a TV again.
Yeah, I didn't watch much of college football. We watched it a little bit in the afternoon before we headed over to Miles to watch the Golden Bears 45-21 victory over Morehouse College. Shout out to my ex-coworker Cord Ennis, as he's a graduate, alum of Morehouse College. They beat us on a Hail Mary last year as we played at Soldier Field, but it was not that close. It was over early. We'll talk about that game a little bit later. The only other game that we thought was going to be close, a lot of people thought the Syracuse, since they were playing at home against Clemson, what's old Lee Corso said? Not so fast, my friend.
So fast.
At 41-6, and Clemson. The people say, well, Clemson doesn't have much of a defense. They lost a lot of players. Well, they held Syracuse to 6 points.
Well, I mean, they and Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia and LSU, they're always ranked in the top 4 or 5 in recruiting, and it's certainly paying off, and so they did play, by the way, in the Carrier Dome.
They did play in the Carrier Dome.
They did play in the Carrier.
No AC.
Why do they? I don't understand. You name it after an air conditioning company, and the air conditioning either doesn't work very well, or it's on purpose, or something like that. But they did play at Syracuse, and Clemson rose to the occasion. Did what a number 1 team's supposed to do. Got some style points out of it, like you said. Held a team under 7 points, and you can't ask for anything better than that.
No really close games last week. After that, I finished 19-4, Bob 18-5. Now let's move on. We're going to have some good games this week, Bob. We're going to move on to we have 2 Friday night games. Number 10, Utah, very strong. I like the Utes right now, as Robbie Shanks calls them, Utes. Utes, and they're heading to California to take on USC. Utah took out BYU in week 1. USC lost to BYU last week. I got to stay with the Utes in this one.
Yeah, I do too. I think they're for real. USC had a down game. I really hated that because I really thought they were back on the upswing, and they start getting into the meat of their schedule. They have brutal schedule coming up, and I thought perhaps their coach could last the season, but if it continues, and in this the Pac-12 schedule, it may not bode well for USC. May be looking for a coach, and maybe Urban Meyer may want to.
Sorry, I was a little distracted. I was watching Dante Wright catch his 5th touchdown of the season over here, and it just so happened the camera angle caught his mom Stacy and his dad Damon in the stands cheering as Dante's running towards the end zone. You can see his mom and dad in the background. It's a little bit earlier in the video, but what a great. We'll get to Dante here in a little bit. It's easy to get distracted by Dante. Well, let's move on to our second night game of Friday night. You have the blue and white heading to the blue turf to take on Boise State.
Beating Air Force Brad, it's hard to root against Air Force.
And they're playing well. They knocked off Colorado last week.
They did. It's different. I'm going to go with Boise State. I think it's going to be a close game, though.
I'm going with Boise State as well. Next, we head to Saturday. We got some good games. A matchup. Number 11, Michigan, which I think is highly overrated.
I agree.
Heading to Madtown, take on the Wisconsin Badgers, number 13. Wisconsin, a 3-point favorite, and I'm going with the Badgers in this one. I think it's not even going to be as close as people think it's going to be.
I don't either. I really don't. And I hope the pollsters will begin to recognize that. And if they lose to Wisconsin as much as what I think you and I believe it's going to happen, they could be out of the top 25 when it's all said and done. I think Wisconsin grinds the ball. They've got big offensive line. They've added a passing game. And whenever Ohio State and Wisconsin play, it's going to be one heck of a game. But I'm gonna go with the Badgers as well.
Well, you kind of know when their quarterback Hornibrook leaves Madison to go down to Tallahassee, and he can't win the starting job over James Blackman with the year that they're having, that was probably the right move because he was not going to play much for the Badgers this year. Might not play much for the Seminoles this year as well.
Well, if Florida State doesn't start protecting James Blackman, he's not that big. And they may, I hope we don't wish it on anyone. I think Hornibrook, I'd like to see him. He had a fairly good spring. I'd like to see him in action. Blackman has been there for 2 or 3 years. He's won the locker room. But we found out in the Florida game last week, you're just, one play away if you're a backup to, getting to start for the rest of the year.
I did not have the Florida State game in here, but we will throw. They're playing who this week?
They're playing Louisville.
Louisville at home?
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
We're going to throw that game in there as well.
They're favored by 8.
Louisville played well against Notre Dame early on.
They did.
But
I heard rumblings that their quarterback is out, and I think he's the difference maker. If Louisville's quarterback does play, Louisville's certainly got a shot. He turned it over a lot against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame took advantage of that, the miscues, a lot of fumbles. But anyway.
Let's move on to our next game, the game of the weekend. In Athens, Georgia, the men from South Bend head south to the southeast to Athens to take on the number 3 Georgia Bulldogs. And I've already made my pick on the morning show, and I may be the only person picking the Irish to win. 28-27 is the score that I gave, and I'm sticking with my Irish in this one. But I think I know what direction you're probably going to go.
Well, I think Notre Dame needs to certainly have a run game, and if they can't establish the run against Georgia, which is a tall task, it could be a long night. Notre Dame has not had much success against SEC teams, and I think Notre Dame covers. I think the spread is
13.5, I believe, right now.
Yeah,
That's a lot to give a number 17. But Notre Dame hasn't showed up for a big game in quite a while. I'm hoping that I've been thinking all week to come up with 3 factors of what Notre Dame has to do to win this game. One, their quarterback, Ian Book, has to stick to the game plan, play the game of his life, and not turn the ball over. 2, they have to slow down the rushing attack of Georgia. And 3, they have to be able to run the ball. Scott Moore has been talking about that all week as well. But I think those are the 3 keys. If those 3, you're not going to stop Georgia's running game. Mm-hmm. You can slow it down a little bit, make Fromm pass the ball with their little bit of inexperienced wide receivers right now, because they have replaced pretty much all of their wide receiving core.
Right, some of them left early.
And Notre Dame has a strong secondary back there with Gilman and a couple other new guys back there. But if Notre Dame can get them into throwing a little bit more and then establish the run themselves and have Book stick to the game plan and execute the game plan the way that Brian Kelly has set it up going into this game, that would be my only chance. And I think Notre Dame wins. I know you're leaning Georgia because they are the 13.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I think the fourth factor is Notre Dame's got to push the turnovers. In games like this, turnovers mean a lot. I think Notre Dame covers the spread, and I think Georgia wins.
Okay, there you go. Have you called in your score yet?
I haven't.
You're going to have to call in tomorrow then.
I may have to.
Seminole Bob on 100.3 when he calls us in. I'm Irish Bill everywhere I go. That's everybody knows it's Irish Bill. But Tennessee on the road against number 9 Florida. Florida with a big victory after Felipe Franks goes down last week. We saw what possibility could be with their backup. They also have another young man out of Alabama, Emory Jones, that could see some playing time this week as well. So it'll be interesting. Tennessee, they took out the Mocs of Chattanooga, a Division I AA team, pretty handily, but now they got to head to a hostile environment and down in the swamp.
Well, Tennessee is playing better, even though they didn't play really all that bad against BYU. They lost in overtime. I think the swamp, and I've been to a couple FSU games in the swamp, and it's going to be hot
and loud.
And I think
90,000 plus people.
Oh gosh, and the SEC schedulers, all these games at 11 a.m. My goodness, and this is one of the hottest Septembers we've ever had. You think maybe, and I know TV dictates some of this, obviously, which games get on and all. I think the game's going to be closer than most people think.
I do too.
I'm really leery about Florida's quarterback situation.
With Trask.
He did not play all that bad when he came in. Kentucky had, was it Sawyer Smith?
Out of Tate High School.
Tate High School. I think Sawyer played pretty well. I was
graduate at 16.
I liked his poise in the game, and something down there just thought that after Franks went out, the air would come out, but it didn't. Florida was rejuvenated. They just got right now too many athletes.
They got down 21-10 in the second half, and early in the fourth quarter, and when Franks went down, well, Kentucky had been scheming all week for Felipe Franks, so now you throw the backup quarterback in, not expecting
Trask
in, and he didn't play, like you said, didn't play awesome or extravagant. He managed the game.
Game managing.
He got them back, and they got all their athletes involved in that fourth quarter. They came back. Unfortunately, the Kentucky kicker, I'm kind of partial to kickers, you know that, missed the field goal.
Wow,
He lined up. It was from the right hash mark, and it never came back in. And so Florida took over right there. And first play from scrimmage, 76 yards, and game over, 29-20, 21 in that game. And
I'm going to lean. I think Tennessee covers. I think Florida wins.
Southern Miss, this one goes back a rivalry. Southern Miss has actually beat Alabama 3 times in the last 30 years, but not this year.
I think they broke Bear Bryant's streak back in 82, I believe. Go with, I think the backup quarterback for Alabama gets in early.
Here's a big Pac-12 SEC matchup over in Ole Miss. A tough number 23 California Bears. Not the Golden Bears, not the real Golden Bears. The real Golden Bears are up in Birmingham at Miles College. They are very false imitations.
Faux.
Yeah.
It's a faux. The face.
Yeah. They're not the real Bears, the real Golden Bears. Number 23 California at Ole Miss. This is going to be an interesting game.
It is. I think Ole Miss is going to be looking ahead because you know who they play the following week is Alabama. So I think the Cal Berkeleys get it done on the road and beat Ole Miss.
I am going with Cal as well. The imitation Golden Bears. Next one, not much of a matchup here. Number 4 LSU goes into Nashville to face off with the Vanderbilts. And LSU looking pretty solid here early on.
Yeah, this is a game where Coach Orgeron is going to want to make sure his kind of like Coach Saban with Alabama, get you a lead and get your starters out. Because you've got important games coming up, SEC games coming up. Vanderbilt always gives you fits, but just hasn't been their year. I think LSU has the game won by halftime.
Next, we have a big matchup between Miami and number 6 Ohio State. Oh, hold on a second. That's Miami of Ohio. So not much of a matchup coming up here with Ohio State.
They used to be called the Redskins. I don't know what their nickname is now. We'll have to. But Justin Fields is playing, really well. We really didn't know how well Justin Fields was going to play. People said, "Oh well, Urban Meyer left. There's going to be a drop off." No, they've got too much talent.
They are now the Red Hawks.
The Red Hawks, yeah, they used to be called the Redskins years ago.
But I'm going with Ohio State big in this one.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm impressed. Early on, people say, well, UCF's not all of that. But you know what? Each week, they spanked Stanford last week.
They did.
Not that Stanford on their backup quarterback.
Right.
But they came into Orlando, and UCF says, you're not welcome here. They spanked their butt and sent them packing back to the West Coast.
Josh Heupel is really made a believer out of a lot of people. They thought perhaps it would be a drop. Speaking of drop-off, would be a drop-off. Once he got there, UCF hasn't lost a game in I don't know how long in the regular season. I think UCF wins. I think it's to be a little closer, maybe a 24-13, 24-14. 27-17, maybe a 10-point game. I think Pittsburgh. That's tough.
Going up north.
Yeah, going up north. Probably still be hot. Probably be hot there too. But I think UCF goes on the road and wins here.
I agree with you. And the next we got SMU going to number 25 TCU. The Horned Frogs into the polls for the very first time on the season. Now I'm going to go with the home victory here.
Yep, the Horned Frogs over the Mustangs.
Next we have a good matchup, classic matchup between number 8 Auburn and number 17 A&M. Always tough to play out there. And will the real Auburn team show up this week?
Please stand up. Yeah, Patrick Nix is making a believer out of people.
He is.
And secretly some of the people who want their head coach gone is saying, well, there might be a silver lining to this. But they have been playing well. This game, I think, would be easy to pick if it was at Auburn. It's at Texas A&M. Mon did not play very well against Clemson, the quarterback for Texas A&M. I'm going to pick Auburn in a close one.
I'm going the other way. The Aggies of Texas A&M, the eyes of Texas are upon them on this night, and I'm going with Texas A&M and the home team. Sorry, Nick. Nick Brahms did get into play last week for the Auburn Tigers.
Yep.
And good to see Nick back out there on the field. Next we go number 22 Washington at BYU. Tough schedule early on for BYU. Start off with Tennessee. They knock off Tennessee. They lose to Utah in week 1. Last week they beat USC. This week they're playing number 22 Washington.
They beat Florida State. Did they play Florida? I can't even remember who Florida State played in week 1.
No, Florida State played Boise State.
That's right, Boise, the
1.
other B team. BYU's had 2 overtime games. The game's not an easy place to play. I'm going to help my fellow Seminole Nullcore, and I think Washington bounces back. This might be another overtime game.
And what's Nullcore always say? Bow to UW. I'm bowing to UW this week.
I'm wearing UW colors.
We're going with Washington this week. Old Dominion, ODU at number 21 Virginia, fresh off their victory over the Seminoles.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get that in every time.
Yeah, they really didn't play that well. And, it was 4th in this and 3rd in that and 4th in this. And toward the end of the game, that penalty, pass interference, unnecessary roughness. And that was for Virginia. We're not talking about the Seminoles. They had their share of penalties, which they got to get cleaned up this week. But Virginia did not play all that well. Their quarterback did not play all that well. A lot of people were predicting a blowout against the Seminoles. Didn't happen. Fortunately for them, they have ODU.
Division I AA.
Yeah, I think not a bad team at all, but I think Virginia wins.
We're both going with Virginia in that one. Washington in the previous one. Next, we have number 16 Oregon going to a very undermanned and under-talented Stanford team this week, and I'm going with the Ducks big in this one.
Yeah, I think the Ducks will win handily.
Quack, quack, Mr. Duckworth. Quack, quack.
Quack, quack.
Next, we have I'm gonna quiz you on this one. Charlotte heading to number 1 Clemson. And what is the nickname of the Charlotte?
I know their NBA nickname is the Bobcats. Charlotte. I think it's a cat name. I'm not sure. You got me there.
They are the 49ers.
Oh, yeah.
Of
that's
Charlotte.
Right. Yeah, 49ers. I think the game is over at halftime, and Sunshine, their quarterback for Clemson, has a stat game, and they win handily.
I'm going to get the nickname. I promised you the nickname of that St. Stanislaus team as well. But we're both going with Clemson big in that one.
Yep.
We'll see the backups probably by the end of the second quarter. Both going with Clemson. Oklahoma State always gives Texas a tough game. They're going on the road to Texas this week. Texas looked good at times against LSU. They lost 42-35.
Got a good quarterback, probably one of the best in the country.
He is built like a brick house.
Outside the SEC.
He's tough, and he's got a strong arm. I'm going with Texas at home over the Cowboys.
I'll pick Texas in that game also. I think their quarterback, Englinger and
Erlinger.
Erlinger.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he.
My wife is sending in a food request, so they have pretzel bites here at Culver's, and that's her favorite thing here. Okay. That and the cheese curds. Well, back to football, anyways. As I was distracted by food, as I easily am.
And we've got a TV showing all the food above us.
Yeah, we got Culver's TV going on with food and their
custard
and their custard. And well, let's get back to football. We'll worry about food in a little bit. Colorado, decent start. They knocked off Colorado State in their first game. Then they knocked off Nebraska in week 2. This week they're going to Arizona State, and Herm Edwards' team playing pretty well here early on, 3-0.
I may flip a coin on this one. I'm going to go with the home team, Arizona State. I think it's going to be a close game, maybe a last possession.
I as well, and we head to our last game of the weekend, Pac-12 After Dark, Pac-12 Dave, as I often call him, Pac-12 Unhinged, which is appropriate most times. But I'm gonna go with Washington State big over the Bruins of UCLA.
Upper Cressy, Laura, Alabama. I think their quarterback. I mean, it's a system. You could plug anybody in there, and you got to hats off to their coach. It works. It keeps on winning. I'm going to pick Washington State big over UCLA.
And our extra game this week out of non-top 25 teams, Louisville heading to Tallahassee to take on Florida State.
I'm going to go with the Seminoles. I think it'll be close. I think Louisville will beat the spread on this. I think it's a field goal game. I think they really need to get their running attack going. Blackman played well at times. And I think the key is if Louisville's quarterback is in the game, they should win. But if he's injured and out, sometimes that's just the way it is. Who knows your game against
I
Georgia. If the quarterback for Georgia, God forbid, goes down, you've got to, you can't feel sorry for the other team. You got to play with who's ever on the field. So I'm going to go with the Seminoles.
What's the old saying? You got to dance with. You came to the dance with you.
Dance with the girl you went to the prom with.
Yep. And there's your college picks. As just like the high school picks, the only way to find out how we did is to tune in next Wednesday night here in Week 5 of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Now it's time for my favorite part of the night. Talk about our former Navarre Raiders and where they're at, where they're playing.
Had a good week this week.
They had a good week. Tampa Bay Bucks tight end Jordan Leggett, he's still on the practice squad with the Buccaneers. He's in his 3rd year. A West Florida wide receiver. I saw this coming years ago. This young man has been underestimated for quite a while. He's a walk-on at UWF. Quentin Randolph had 4 catches for 117 yards and a score last week in their 42-14 win over Shorter. That puts them atop the Gulf South Conference. May it be for just 1 week, but they are atop nonetheless. Next, they have their first home game coming up this week against Virginia Lynchburg, and that will be a 6 p.m. kickoff down at Blue Wahoo Stadium. On this season for Quentin, 8 receptions, 169 yards, and a touchdown through 2 games. You say next one come Miles College kicker Brady Hamill.
You know the guy?
I know him a little bit, but they jump out to a 2-0 record on the season as they avenged the second of their 2 losses from last year with a win over Fort Valley State in Week 1, and now with
Revenge
Morehouse
games.
in Week 2, 45-21 over Morehouse College. He had 8 kickoffs. You can say, well, he only averaged 42.5. Well, if you know anything about Morehouse College, they have a young man back there. Number 1 is one of the fastest men in the conference. And Coach Ruffin had a game plan. Brady went sky kicks, all game long except for one. At the end of the game, he drew that one guy forward, and they kicked one in the back of the end zone. But first kick, a 30-yard sky kick. We recover, go down and score, go up 14-0. And first quarter still, we're up 14-0. Coach Ruffin calls an onside kick on the next play because he saw the middleman step back about 2 or 3 yards away off the midfield stripe.
Right.
And Coach saw that. He called it. Brady could have recovered it himself. It was one of those right up the middle. It went 12 yards. He went to jump on it. His teammate got to it first. So we recovered, and shortly after, we're up 28-0 at halftime. We'll go on and win 45-21, and they get off to a 2-0 start on the season.
Navarre has had some luck with onside kicks.
They have, and he's actually been pretty successful with onside kicks in his career. And one of the best games he ever had. And the biggest stat of all of this, the 8 kickoffs, Morehouse College only had 8 return yards all night long on the kickoff.
And I'm sure teams that played Morehouse are going to watch that game film and say, it's like any sport you play. It's a sport of a keep away. It's a simple game. You played it as a kid. Basketball, baseball, you play football. You play a game of keep away. Keep it from the other team, and good things will happen. So very proud of Brady, and sounds like he had a great night. Sounds like y'all had a great time there.
You know what a really good feeling is? As he's into his senior year, it's comforting to us to see that he's very comfortable in his own skin. He's very happy with the direction that the team is going, even though he's just doing kickoffs. It's an important, as he proved Saturday night, it's a game. He changed the game early on.
He did.
And what a great game by all of the Miles College Golden Bears. We'll be heading off to Missouri this week to face Missouri S&T, Science and Technology, in Rolla, Missouri, about an hour and a half south of St. Louis. So we'll be up there for that game, a Saturday night kickoff at 7 p.m. And on the season, Brady already with 15 kickoffs in 2 games. Pretty solid.
That's
touchback.
Great. And again, who knows what can happen during the season, injuries and all like. He may be expanding his game, punting, extra points, field goals. Who knows?
Who knows? And more importantly, today he was corded. He received his first cord for his first semester that he had.
Yeah,
his first 2 semesters that he had at Miles College, and a very proud dad moment for me, seeing him wearing his first cord. And
football doesn't last forever.
Nope, and it's important to be solid in the classroom as well.
Exactly.
And where Brendan Kay and I are very, very solid in that as well. So very appreciative of all of his efforts. Let's move on to other former Navarre Raiders at Kennesaw State. Defensive end Kyle Ernst Smith had no stats in their 42-7 win over Alabama State. Next week they'll be traveling to Missouri as well at Missouri State, 3 p.m. kickoff. Great program that they're turning into a Division I AA up there at Kennesaw State. On the season for Kyle, 1 solo tackle. Texas Tech defensive back Tommy Leggett, the younger brother of Jordan and Brad Leggett. And he is a redshirt junior at Texas Tech. They dropped a tough one to Arizona this past week, 28-14. Tommy had a solo and an assist in that contest, and a tougher road this week as they travel to Norman to take on Oklahoma.
Yeah, that quarterback, I saw a little bit of that game. That quarterback for Arizona, Khalil
Tate, can run that 90-yard touchdown run he had.
I saw that.
That was something else.
Yep.
And but they'll be facing off with Oklahoma. And on the season, 4 tackles for Tommy, 2 solos, 2 assists, and a tackle for loss.
Jalen, he goes from Khalil Tate to Jalen Hurts. Sorry, Tommy. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be a tough week for the Red Raiders. And Maryville College linebacker Bo Herring is a junior. They are 0-2, but they had a very competitive loss to center this past week, 27-22. Bo had 8 tackles, 4 solos, 4 assists, and a 34-yard interception return in the loss. This week they'll be at home against Hanover, 1 p.m. kickoff. It's just Maryville College is just south of Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay. For those people that want to know where they are, the Scots.
The Maryville College Scots.
Yep. On the season, Bo has 10 tackles, 6 solo, 4 assists, 2 interceptions, returns for 39 yards. Next, we move on to North Carolina running back Michael Carter. He's a junior up there for the Tar Heels. They're 2-1 overall, 1-1 in ACC action. He had 13 carries for 96 yards, 2 receptions for 22 yards, and his first touchdown on the season in a 24-18 loss to Wake Forest. Next up for them, they'll be hosting Appalachian State this Saturday afternoon with 3:30. And on the season for Michael, 40 carries, 203 yards, a little over 5 yards a carry, 5 receptions for 51 yards and a score, and a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and they easily could have been 3-0 on the season, which is a phenomenal start for them. And Michael certainly making his name for himself in the ACC.
Most definitely. I love what Mac Brown's doing up there in Tar Heel Nation and getting them back to playing very, very competitive. It looks like they're having fun again there in North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Next, we move on to Huntington College, where we had defensive lineman Mark Struck, offensive lineman Daryl Hickson, long snapper Garrett Schluter, and kicker Kyle Hickman up there for Huntington College. The Hawks, as our favorite saying, is Hawk'em.
Hawks.
The football coach and the athletic director is the older brother of one of our Navarre faithful, Cindy Freeze. It's her older brother.
Okay.
He's the athletic director and football coach up there at Huntington, and he loves coming down here to pull Raiders up to his program.
Awesome.
They lost to Birmingham. Birmingham Southern must have something going, as they lost 45-13 this past Saturday. Next week up, these guys are heading up to Wisconsin, Oshkosh.
Oshkosh.
That is a haul from Montgomery to Oshkosh.
Fortunately, it's in September and not in October or November in Oshkosh.
But that's going to be a noon kickoff up there in Wisconsin, Oshkosh, for the Huntington College Hawks. Next, we move over to Shorter. Sage Chambers will more than likely not be suiting up this year for the he's still recovering from a little bit of nagging injuries, but he will be on the sidelines for Shorter. They had UWF 14-14 at the half, and fortunately the second half started, and they got outscored 28-0. They're now sitting at 40 games in a row. And I'm looking, they're heading to Fort Valley State, another Georgia team, a HBCU school, not to take anything away from HBCU schools, a very solid program. Could this be the week that Shorter breaks their losing streak?
Could be.
But we'll see. You have to tune in next Wednesday night or log on to your computer and Google it, whichever. But it's more fun to come to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports.
Absolutely.
Plus, you get a look at us, too, for an hour and a half or more.
And see how bad I beat you this week.
We'll see. I mean, we had a few different.
Yep.
And next, we got Auburn University offensive lineman Nick Brahms got into play last week in their 55-16 win over Kent State. And next, they're going to travel out to Aggie Land and takes on Texas A&M at 2:30 kickoff. That's going to be hot.
Going to be hot. I think it might be the CBS game of the week. Should be. And
then we'll move over a little bit closer in Texas. Sam Houston State wide receiver Tevin Stevenson. He had no stats in a 27-23 loss as they ventured up to North Dakota last weekend. This week they'll be playing Incarnate Word, 6 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. 1 reception on the season for 4 yards for Tevin. Next we're going to dip down to the southern part of Florida. Ave Maria University offensive lineman LaMarcus Smith. He's a junior there. They're 1-1. They're fresh off a 35-33 win over St. Andrews, North Carolina. Next, they'll be heading up to Virginia to take on Bluefield College, a 6 p.m. kickoff. And you're saying, Bill, where do you find these schools at? They play them. I put them on here.
That's it.
Next, we're going to go over to Troy, Alabama. Wide receiver Jordan Williams is a redshirt freshman. They're 1-1. As they had a tough loss to Southern Miss last week, 47-42.
Yeah, I saw that.
This week they're going to be hitting the road and playing the Zips of Akron.
Zips of Akron. Is Bowden still coaching there at
I think
Akron?
so. Pretty sure he is.
Yeah.
I have found the nickname for St. Stanislaus. Quarterback Max Favre, the nephew of Brett Favre, is our quarterback. They are the Rockachaws. Rockachaws. R-O-C-K hyphen A, lowercase a, and hyphen Chaws.
What's a Rockachaw?
What's a Rockachaw?
Indian, probably an Indian tribe.
But they are. Isn't that a good?
It is.
That's a good nickname.
It
The
is.
Rockachaws. I like that. We'll do a little. I'll do a little bit more research, and we'll tell you what Rockachaw, where they got it from next week.
There you go.
Let's move back to our Navarre. Where are they now? Sanford linebacker Caleb Dale did not play his freshman year at Sanford, but he's back playing for the Bulldogs of Sanford. They're 1-2 on the season, 1-0 in conference play. He did not play in their 21-14 win over number 21 Wofford last week.
Wow.
Next, they'll be heading to Northern Alabama, to Huntsville to take on Alabama A&M. A 6 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Southwest Community College running back Amari Green still waiting to see action out there, as he's a redshirt freshman out in California playing junior college ball this year. He did not play in their 28-24 win over Palomar. This week they'll be playing at Victor Valley, 6 p.m. kickoff. That would be Pacific time. Mm-hmm. Next, we've said enough about this young man, but we're going to keep on saying it. Colorado State wide receiver Dante Wright. 4 receptions, 97 yards, his 5th touchdown of the season. 2 carries for 5 yards and a 55-34 loss to Arkansas. That game was actually tied at 34 when Dante, you've probably seen his catch on highlights. He goes up on the sideline over one defender, manages to keep his foot in bounds, and then once he gets in the open, you're not going to catch him.
See ya.
And on the season for Dante, 6 carries for 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 receptions for 280 yards and 3 scores, 6 punt returns for a 9.0 average. And this week they will be playing Toledo.
Holy Toledo, the Rockets.
The Rockets will be coming to Fort Collins this weekend.
Okay.
Now be an 8:15 Mountain Time kickoff. So they're about an hour behind us.
They are.
So that will be 9:15 our time. So maybe I'll be traveling back from Raleigh to St. Louis, so I'll miss it. I'll probably just try and tape it and then come back and watch it when I get home on Sunday. But a great season so far for Dante. Next we'll move over to West Virginia defensive lineman Jordan Jefferson registered his first tackle on the season for West Virginia in a 44-27 win over North Carolina State. They'll be on the road at a vastly improved Kansas team.
Less miles.
4:30 kickoff on Saturday. South Alabama wide receiver Bryson Brewer, South Alabama linebacker Josh Carter. They went on the road to face actually, I think Memphis came to them,
right.
But Memphis was not very good visitors as they won 42-6.
Yeah.
And a Battle of Alabama this weekend at 2:30 in Birmingham as South Alabama travels to UAB. Next, we're going to go into Charleston Southern wide receiver Quinn Caballero. 27-21 loss to North Carolina A&T. Famous alum, running back Tyreek Cohen for the Chicago Bears is from North Carolina A&T.
Yep.
And next, Charleston Southern will be heading to the Citadel.
The Citadel.
A 6 p.m. kickoff Saturday night. 1 reception on the season for 5 yards for Quinn. Harding University defensive lineman Mitchell Hunt and long snapper James Seagrass. Still freshman, true freshman, more than likely will probably be redshirted this year. They're 1-1 on the season after a 24-0 win over Arkansas Monticello. And then they'll be facing Southern Arkansas this Saturday at 6 p.m. Culver Stockton defensive lineman Alex Gilchrist, a freshman up there in Missouri. They're 2-1, fresh off their second straight win, 40-28 over Missouri Valley College. Excuse me. And this week they'll be facing number 18 Evangel University. 6 p.m. kickoff. And our last one, not least, offensive lineman and former Big Bubba, Clayton Dillard. He's a freshman up there in Norwich University. And he did not play in a 30-24 win over St. Lawrence. They're 2-0 on the season. And next they're taking on the Coast Guard at 2 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Will that be on land or by sea?
That's right.
Well, there's our former Navarre Raiders. Where are they now? I love that segment and talking about our former Navarre Raiders. Over 25 of them playing at the next level or higher. And just you got to love our Raiders. And remember the old saying, it's always greater to be a Raider.
Always greater to be a Raider. And that's just football. Other sports as well. Basketball, volleyball.
I would love to put
soccer.
down and see how list every sport at Navarre and where we have athletes playing at. And I know
our show would go to midnight, I think,
and it would. So that's why we just concentrate on football during the show. Now we're going to move over to the Gulf South Conference. West Florida 1-0 off their victory over Shorter. Victories for Florida Tech, Valdosta State, West Alabama, and West Georgia moves them to 2-0 overall, but they have yet to play a conference game. Delta State, North Greenville, and Mississippi College at 1-1, Shorter at 0-2. And 0-1 in conference play. This week's schedule, Shorter at Fort Valley State, Virginia Lynchburg at West Florida, West Alabama at Valdosta State. That is going to be a good contest. Mm-hmm. Florida Tech at Delta State as they travel from Melbourne to Cleveland, Mississippi. Ever been to Cleveland, Mississippi?
No, but it is in the triangle, as they call it. That's why they call it Delta State.
Not far from Arkansas.
Right.
And it is one of those. You use the statement, no quick way to get there.
No.
From here.
No.
Anywhere. Albany State at West Georgia, and a battle of Georgia teams, and North Greenville will head to Mississippi College over to Jackson, Mississippi to finish up conference play. Well, that's going to end another show, Bob, and we're coming up on 2 hours. Do you think we talked enough?
I missed you. I missed you this week. I apologize for not being there in Tallahassee. Glad you had a fill-in, and I listened to the broadcast, and a couple times I'm the stadium announcer for Emerald Coast Middle School, the voice of the Stingrays, and a couple times I was checking the phone when I was supposed to be announcing on the play, and I had to ask the clock operator, what was that play? Because I was watching Lincoln and Navarre. Looking forward to this week. I know coaches got some things he and his staff have cleaned up this week. They have a longer week, of course, because they played on Thursday, a little bit different schedule. But I look forward to a Navarre victory. It's not going to be easy. Pine Forest is no slouch.
Very athletic team. Great quarterback, Ladarius Clardy. Number 2, very quick. Wide receivers, they got Eric Young and Von Hill. Both of them being looked at by Division I schools. Defensively, they're very quick on the defensive line. Their corners will challenge the Navarre wide receivers. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Raiders going into Pine Forest Friday night.
Pine Forest got a tremendously great history. I know they have at least one state title under their belt, so they're a program that is used to winning. Like you said, they have very good athletes. They always do very well in track and field, especially the shorter distance races, like Scambia. So it is going to be a tough task. It'll be interesting how they handle our front defense. Our defense is starting to come. The trenchmen.
I think we're going to keep with that. Scott Weaver, former assistant coach Scott Weaver, came up with that a couple weeks ago, and I think we're going to stick with it, Bob.
I think they're going to have their hands full with Grady. Grady's going to be probably one tired young man after chasing the folks down, but Navarre can clean some things up. I think it's going to be a close game, hard-fought game in Pensacola, Lon Wise Stadium. Again, a lot of tradition over there in Pensacola.
We got one running back playing in the NFL right now. He's been playing for quite a few years. Alfred Morris.
Yep.
Played at Pine Forest. Luchez Purefoy, who's currently in the CFL.
Right.
So they have some great talent that have come out of Pine Forest over the years, and should be a great matchup Friday night, and you'll be able to watch it live on IrishBillSports.com Bob Grant will be back in the booth with me. If we're inside or outside, it doesn't really matter.
Hopefully
And,
that tropical storm will.
And we have I'll have a new camera person this week. My daughter, Brooke, is coming out of retirement, and going to help us out this week. And it should be a great game Friday night. If you can't make it out to the game in Pensacola, head to your living room or wherever you have your computer or your phone.
Your device.
And, your device, whatever you watch games on or sports on, and stay cozy in the comforts of your own home. Not saying stay away from the stadium. If you're going, go. I don't want to keep you away from the stadium if that is your plan.
Go to the game, and you can also listen to us.
You can listen to us instead of the very loud Pine Forest public address announcer. Not as loud as last week's Lincoln's.
Mercy.
Wow. I couldn't even hear myself think or talk last week. But we'll be over there either on the visitor side or the home side. We'll find that out once we get there.
We apologize for you had a kind of an abrupt ending, to the game. We're sorry to our listeners and viewers that some things, as you explained to me, are out of our control. And
I was standing we were doing the game on the top step of in front of the press box over in Lincoln last week, and there was a film crew from Lincoln that was there as well to my right, and we were plugged into the press box, and when they were going to shut down everything in the press box, they unplugged me. Bill, I was a little surprised, but my camera went out, and I was like, what the heck's going on?
Irish Bill Unplugged. You could be on.
Oh, that's a good podcast. That would be a good podcast. Great idea for a. Well, we've learned what the nickname is for Saint Stanislaus.
Right,
Rockachaz.
Rockachaz.
Great nickname. I love that nickname. Next week we'll try to come up with another one, and we'll also find out where the Rockachaz name came from.
Where it came from, and
where its origination.
Again, we apologize to our viewers. It totally out of Bill's hand. When they're ready to go home, they're ready to go home. Like my father, when he was ready to go to the restaurant, and he'd be waiting in the car. Sometimes some things are out of your control.
Sometimes he'd probably leave without you too.
Well, yeah, I learned that too. If you're hungry, your rear end better be in the driveway, getting ready to get in the car.
Because if you're not in the car.